Hello. So, some really interesting things about womanhood. As we get older, even so our sense of security and self-worth is is really that space of home. That if we're still so guided by core wounds, which most of us are, those feelings are externalized and we subconsciously try to fill those voids with so many different things. It could be through work, it could be through partners, it could be through sex, it could be for some people through drugs and alcohol, even travel. If you're somebody who, you can be addicted to travel. Any kind of escape to try and fill that void because it makes us feel more alive. Although I'm sure both men and women and anybody who identifies as anything in between or both, not really both, but anything in between or otherwise, I should say, it's important no matter what gender you identify as. What's important to recognize is where this sense of self-worth and self-security comes from. We can decide in our mind that we're secure. But when we begin to meditate and begin to practice, start to notice what comes up. Maybe it's impatience or judgment or fear or grief. So many things can arise. In fact, likely the whole experience of human emotion will arise, right? So where does that self-worth really come from? It comes from grounding down. And it comes from healing those wounds. Now, how do we heal them? Through love. How do we experience this love that we haven't possibly ever experienced in our life? Through the practice. Although there are so many different ways, what I teach and what I share are tantric practices called Kriya Yoga, along with so many styles of yoga asana, yoga therapy, meditation, reiki, which is a Japanese energy healing, and through the arts. For me, these practices have been the most profound way to return to who I am. And so this is what I offer, and this is what I share with anyone who's got honest inquiry to really look at who they are. So I want to speak about specifically the female experience, and in my experience, it's just been as a cisgender female. And I'd love to hear about anyone's experiences, if you've transitioned or if you identify as something other than cisgender female. I'd love to hear about your experience in this and how find ways that we can all empower one another in this journey of humanhood, So as a woman, any time that we have ever felt that our environment was not safe, for example, even being catcalled, being looked at in a certain way, being verbally attacked or physically attacked. I don't even need to say more on that because I think we can all agree on how traumatic that is. But just really the really subtle things of like being condescended or feeling condescended by someone, not feeling supported emotionally by a man in our life or another woman in our life, so much, even today, I witness this competition, this jealousy amongst women. It's absolutely what is keeping us energetically low. And when we can't commit to our practice, when we can't commit to our dreams, when we can't commit to everything we say we want, it's because our energy is low. So we need to find a practice, and whatever it is, stick with it. Stick with the Kriyas. Stick with the meditation. Stick with it. Regardless of what comes up internally, hold a space for it. Have a mentor for it. Have guidance. Because I know how challenging it can be to try to do it all by yourself. When we can do that, we can raise our energy levels. The more we raise our energy, the more we will have access to this infinite. When I say infinite, I mean it never ends. Infinite energy source from within us, from within our body, from within our soul, from within our emotions, our psyche, from everything in us. And I shit you not, I don't know. I know where it comes from based on my studies, but through my experience, all I know is it comes from making a choice to follow my intuition and trust it, no matter how fucking terrifying it is. And through my experience, I know that this infinite energy, this is what gives us the power to commit to our practice, to commit to our dreams, to rise, to becoming what our potential is, to lift others up in their potential, to guide others. This can be only done when we're living in an energy-rich environment within ourselves. That's where our sense of security comes from. That's how we heal those wounds. And there are practices to do it. There's so much, especially if we're very smart, which most of us are. We're human. There's so much we can know here. There's so many articles we read. We have so many degrees we can get. There's so much we can understand. With the internet, we have access to so much information. And I can tell you that although this serves as a stepping stool, what's really going to make the difference, what's really going to show you the value of it, is not from me telling you. That's great, especially if you trust me, but what's really going to make the difference is if you experience it on your own for yourself. When you feel it, you know that it doesn't even matter what someone else says or what article you read because you know your experience. And there's a difference between knowing the experience of what is coming up, what thoughts or emotions or conditioning or tendencies are coming up, and knowing the experience of this expansive love and energy that lives abundantly in our fields. And the difference is, when we're experiencing thoughts or emotion arise, they pass. It's not chronic energy, chronic love. It's not 24/7. It's something that comes up and it might get triggered over and over again until you start to notice that you're not that. You might hear thoughts that are negative or judgmental, or maybe you're not even aware of it. Maybe you just see it in others. Maybe you're like, oh, she's this. Oh. That's okay too, because that's still in you. That just means that the more time you spend cultivating a space where you can notice what's coming up, you'll begin to notice that it's not them, it's within you. But it's not who you are either. It's just something that's in you that needs to come up, a wound that's been hurt. It needs to be recognized. And I know for so many women, so many, including, I don't know a woman who has not. And if you are a woman who has not experienced this, please send me a message. I'd love to hear about your story. I don't know one woman who has not been either sexually assaulted, molested, or even verbally or emotionally assaulted by another person. So it doesn't need to be physical. For many, it has been. But I mean, even just an ass grab or, hey, smile for me, baby. Ooh, like anything like this. Anything that our energy, our bodies just for a split second don't feel safe. It's a threat. That causes trauma. That's what causes us to look at the world sometimes in this way of like competition or jealousy or any of these really low energy spaces, because whether we identify with it or not, it's irrelevant. What's relevant is, do we see it? Do we experience it? Can we give it space to breathe? Can we give it space to heal? It's not who you are. I know that. And you know that. That's not the point. The point is we need to heal the trauma that we've co-created, and that's a whole other conversation. But when we've been catcalled or physically or verbally assaulted, this energy gets trapped in our body. It gets trapped usually always in our womb, in our yoni. But for many of us, it gets trapped in other parts as well. And as we meditate and as we do the practice, we slowly become aware of our thoughts. We slowly become aware of our emotions, of where in the body this energy is trapped. And we are given the power of awareness to be able to heal it. This healing process is not always easy. But if we have the guidance to know that it's a healing process, we have the guidance to understand, oh, okay, these are emotions that are coming up. This is from a wound. Let me hold space for it. Doesn't mean you'll do it that way every single time it comes up. Triggers happen. But can we hold space and look within and make a choice whenever we can remember, whenever we can have that split second of awareness of, something's coming up for me. Because the more we can take that tiny split second of just having awareness and personal responsibility of what's coming up without identifying with it, it's not who we are. That single-handedly, each and every one of us can not only heal wounds that we didn't even know we had, we can transform our relationships. We can transform our lives. We can experience abundance in every physical manifestation because we experience it internally. And we can live to our potential. And I know the idea of this sounds great, but for a lot of us, the fear of success, the fear of the unknown, these things come up. So we might say, oh yeah, that's what I want. But are you ready to really take honest inquiry and look within and really see what it is that's stopping you from it? Do the work. Heal all of these wounds that are inflicted and allow the body to fully relax so we can trust ourselves.